Hello, everyone. I am Joél Simone Anthony. I am a sacred death and grief care practitioner and licensed funeral director and embalmer.
Hello, I'm Deanna Cochran. I'm a hospice nurse and end of life doula trainer and palliative consultant.
So, Deanna, I know you and I wanted to get together and kind of talk a little bit about this upcoming offering we have entitled Death, Dying, and Beyond, and just share a little bit about what it is that we're doing in this course. One thing that I've been thinking about and meditating on preparing for this course is the importance of intention in the work that we do and giving ourselves permission to truly operate in our gifts. Because a lot of times I don't think that we as professionals, we put on that professional hat and we forget that what we're doing is a spiritual and intellectual gift.
Yes, as a hospice nurse and as a private practice doula and as a trainer, what I'm hearing from people all over the place is, the humanity of what we're doing, anyone can do. Us, not funeral directing. There is the huge home funeral movement that is something that people can do. Overall, what I'm talking about is the accompanying of another. And that's what got you and I into this, is that sacred pull. And what do we need to support that is our humanity and that great mystery that we're all attending to, right?
Yeah, and I think that sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to truly flow in that. We feel like there's, at least on my end as a funeral director, we go to school, we get this education, and then we're thrown in front of families in real life situations if this isn't something that you've done before. And we think that there's like, we try to intellectualize it with steps and I did this, I did that, instead of just flowing in connection. And I think that's one thing that participants of this course are going to get is to learn how to operate in that flow and how to operate from an intuitive space in that flow.
Yeah, and a lot of the practical tasks that we have to do interrupts the flow. So it's not that we're, faulty in any way or it's our fault in any way. There's a lot of things that are going on that require practical presence. So we do tend to come out. It's the part about being more in tune as we're working, yes, and that journey after when we get home, because we're the biggest tool in our trade. And so how do we care? How do we care? How do we explore our own mysteries, our own families that we walk with? That mystery of the beyond, even before someone dies. You and I
Yeah.
have been talking about this, and what a rich, rich journey.
Yeah, and I think for me, one thing that was really hard for me to do was to put aside my own stuff, like my religion, my beliefs, what I thought was right and wrong, what a funeral should look like, it does look like in my culture, and learning how to embrace what other people are going through while serving them through their experience without all the bias and without all the judgment. And it was a really hard conversation to have within because I had to admit that I'm being judgmental in certain situations where I am here to be of service.
So many people that are drawn to this are attuned and have this high vibration going on for the most part. And we might think we've already done that work. We might feel like, yeah, we know. But when we go in here into our heart, in those places that might be in shadow, or might be that we have gone through a few layers, but we didn't realize, right? We didn't realize we still held on to something. I think a lot of times it's our wounding that we think we've healed, that's still kind of not, there's a piece that didn't quite get integrated, that is a barrier to our accompanying others, whether we're doing it professionally or that person that people turn to in our circles. You and me, Joel, we're walking with our own families
Yeah,
also.
yeah, very true. Just last week, I had a cousin that passed away through drowning. I mean, 30 years old. And when my dad called me, I could tell something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. So I just let him talk. And before we got off the phone, he's like, well, this happened. And having to put my own shock and my own feelings and my own response to horrible news to the side to say, well, not having to, but choosing to be of support to another. I mean, that takes a certain level of consciousness, but I love what you said when we were talking about your sweetheart and how if you're in the midst of a life situation or your own grief or your own whatever, your own shit, care for yourself in a way that allows you to almost compartmentalize what you're going through outside of that professional hat and that role to then be there and be of service for someone else. And what that looks like when, at least from my perspective as an African American woman, when I'm working with people who I know in any other circumstance wouldn't look at me or speak to me twice. What does that look like? What is that experience? And how do we dig deep enough into ourselves to say, okay, I'm putting all of this work I have to do within myself on the table and showing up and being of service? What does that look like? I think that's the main question that we're going to be answering, or one of the main questions that we'll be answering throughout this teaching.
Yeah, and what I love about what you said is the compartmentalizing that you're talking about when we're hitting our own pain. Mm-hmm. There's things around pain that I know I experience around culture, around socioeconomic class. My family grew up in poverty. We're migrant workers. Everybody got better. We're in a level now where my generation is getting master's degrees. So it's a lot of pride, a lot of watching people really work hard to get there against all odds. I get it. Some did, some didn't. But what I feel in this space here of end of life is that we're going to see all these cultures. We're going to see all these people that it seems fair or unfair, or they're like me or they're not like me. And we want to project ourselves in there often if we don't keep that in check. And even if we're not going to get paid, even if we're that person in our circle with our family and friends, we still want to be powerful, guide. We still want to be a witness. And if we aren't conscious enough that our experience isn't in the background, we're not going to be a powerful ally or guide or companion. And to me, in our circles, all of those things, all of my growth, all of my pain, all of my joy, all of it that makes me me, there are pieces of that, of course, I'm bringing with me. But there's pieces of it I need to keep back there. And to me, the day that we're creating is the day of me and you, Joél, have each other to talk about this with. We have our colleagues. But there's so many people doing the work that don't.
Yes.
And we want to create, y'all, this place, this nest where you can explore this stuff too. We want to be that for you, where we're going to hold you while you take a little step deeper than you get to on a normal day. And some of you will go much deeper.
And I think an important part of this course is the prep work that each participant is going to receive to kind of begin to prompt that thought process. Like, what is it that I'm dealing with? And neither you, I know I'm not, I can't speak for you, but I'm not a mental health professional. But I know how to show up as a professional in the moment where I need to be of service. And that's what I want to give and share the most is things that I've learned over the years, coping, and especially self-care in those moments that allows me to say, okay, this is my issue. This is what I'm going through. But I also need to show up and be of service to others in this moment. And I think with social media and with the internet, a lot of times it's about me, 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 me. That's just the culture we live in. And I think the unique thing about what you and I do from both sides of the spectrum, the pre-death and the beyond, perspective, is that we have the gift of being able to step outside of ourselves and seeing the world through other people's eyes in one of the most transformative moments that they'll ever experience, both for the dying and for the community left behind.
Yes, and I think so far we've been describing the dying and death part, because there's going to be some practical things and some reality checking and some pursuing our own experiences, kind of to move things around, shift things around so we're more available and present for people. The beyond is what we haven't really addressed yet, that we talked to a group that are joining us, the early bird guys. We talked to them last week, and boy, did my eyes open to really, as much as people want this that we've been talking about, the broader joy is going to be the exploring of what it means to you, the beyond. What is that?
Right. The beyond. And I think that looks so different. Like, I don't want to put the word spirituality on it because that's so unique or absent for everyone, based on their own personal beliefs. But for me, it truly is a spiritual experience. It's transcendent. And it's like, none of us knows what happened when we die. No one's ever, come back to tell me what happened. But I'm just so excited because I feel like in community, we can build a template for what that looks like for the people that we're serving.
A construct, like a geography. There's like the thing of accompanying people, especially after they die. Like I spend so much time with everybody up until death and until the people, your group picks up the body and takes care of them until they're going into the ground or cremation. And then the part of the spirit, what people were sharing with us, Joél, that last week was, it's not that all of us have to agree on this journey that we're going to take together, the pre-work and the full day. It's not that we're theorizing, that's in our brain. We're going to stay in heart and spirit, like Rhonda said, spiritual heart. We're going to be in our heart. So this is an intuitive thing. This is a right brain thing. This is a otherworldly thing that we want to guide people on an experience. So we're going to do some things around talking about stuff and, things Joél and I can share. And then we're going to mostly go deep inside and take you on a journey with us, and that we hope that you'll find very rewarding. And Joél, do you want to share about anything around your spiritual awakening, around anything that's been helpful as a caregiver, a carer of the dying and the dead?
Certainly. I think it was Maya from the early bird group who talked about getting flashes of, oh, this person might like this flower, or oh, this person loved this color, and trusting that, right? That happens to me in the funeral home all the time. I'll be just doing random tasks, from preparing the body for embalming or to setting up the flowers in the chapel prior to a funeral or a viewing. And it'll be almost like a little whisper in my ear, do this, put a flower on his suit, or put her necklace in her hand instead of on her neck. And the family will come in and see that small detail that would be missed by everybody else. But I'm not saying that the deceased is communicating with me. Maybe they are, I don't know. But just trusting those inner promptings and that intuition, and trusting my intuition in service has been one of the things I think that has helped me connect not only with the families that I serve in the funeral home, but with so many people online. Oh, I'll do this video series this month, or I'll talk about this. Just trusting those inner promptings. What about you?
Like, I strongly believe that anybody can serve the dying. Not everybody wants to. That's the thing.
Right.
Not everybody wants to. And yes, most people want guidance. Believe it or not, most people that work with us want us to help guide them. When in the way I like to move about and teach is that I catch people doing things right. I don't necessarily come on as teacher. I don't believe in that. I believe that people really do have their own wisdom and their own family wisdom and their own cultural wisdom. And maybe because dying is so odd in this modern day of all these miracles and not knowing when to stop things, there are some technical things that we can be helpful with. But overall, um, the things that people want to know, I have a lot of joy in sharing and teaching that so people can get out there and help people. One of my most favorite parts, though, is accessing the intuitive. Just like you said, as I've grown over the years, I do have that same thing you're talking about, and I've learned to trust it. And in
Right.
the beginning, when you go, I wonder if I'm making this up. I wonder if this, I wonder that. There are people that know they have a gift and they trust it. And there's many of us, it takes us a while to trust it. And there's some of us that go, y'all are crazy. I've never had that. And I don't know if I think what I want to do with you. But I think the beautiful part of this, what we're going to bring to people that feel inspired to come, is that we're a place to explore that. So Joelle and I wanted y'all to meet us to see who's going to be holding this space for you. Like we said, we're not therapists, we're not mental health providers. That's not what this is. This is about you and your power, us knowing, seeing you in your power, and us holding a space, a nest for you to go wherever you want in a group safely with us. And right now we're doing them virtually because of COVID, but who knows what's going to happen down the road.
Right. And again, this is for not only death doulas, this is for funeral
No,
service professionals, students, or those that are just interested in knowing about the death aspect, the dying aspect, and the beyond, which is that intuitive and that almost spiritual essence that connects all of the work. So
and
I'm
the
excited.
self-care and the self-care that goes into the
Yes,
journey
self-care for sure.
so we can keep doing it.
Because I think most of us that do this work, I hate to put labels on people, but I think we're extremely empathetic. And one mistake that I know I make as an empath is that I assume that because I can feel what others feel what I feel, and they know when I'm tired, or they know when I'm hurting, or they know when I'm drained. And that's not always the case. So just being able to communicate that is a part of the beyond. Setting up those boundaries, not only with your family and your friends, but also with the clients that you're having. It's okay to have boundaries with the people that you're serving. Um, I also I don't know how to say this, but it's almost like some of us want to give too much of ourselves to a point where it becomes detrimental. And knowing when that point of, okay, I need to rest, or I need to care for myself in this moment and extend the same care that I give to others to myself is. So I think we have a lot to discuss, and I'm just happy. I don't want to say to lead the conversation, but to create a space for it.
Thank you. What we've been wanting to share in this session, some of the issues that go along with being a professional in the work, some of the issues that go along with being a person who wants to support like this. And we hope you've received a lot just from our conversation. And if you feel drawn to work deeper with us in our Dying, Death, and Beyond, you'll see a link somewhere around here. Just sign up and register. And it's a 3-part process. It's a pre-session, the day-long session, and a post-session. Is there anything you want? And it's experiential. I want you to know that most of it is experiential. Okay, go ahead, Joe. Is there anything else you want to share about it?
Not a thing. You covered it all.
We're gonna like Joelle and I talk for hours. We can talk all day, and I'm sure those of you who are still with us right now can do it too. So there's a lot of us out there. We just don't have, before this end of life movement with all of us, so many people from all kinds of positions into this. A lot of us were alone and didn't have someone to talk to and do this kind of work with because most people don't have this interest. So we're one of the ones that do, and we hope you'll join us if you're inspired.
See you there.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.